All right, here we go, guys. This is part 3 in the Muriel Builds section. And today we're going to talk about lane importance, basically for new players or people that are kind of curious on how this type of MOBA is supposed to work. So I'm basically going to help you guys figure that part out. So there's the right lane, mid lane, and left lane, depending on which side you're in. So we'll just call them carry lanes, off lanes, mid, jungle. That's what we're gonna call them. So first, starting out, I broke this down in part 1 and part 2. When at part 1 we talked about Muriel and her abilities and what use they could be in. But as I said in the first video, that kind of evolves and devolves and then gets dissected even further when we talk about, gameplay like we're doing today. The second video we talked about was the items that I choose and that have been proven to be a successful build to keep her surviving and going and useful in every team fight. So I've broken down in times and when you should really do things and buy items and certain things like that. So we're going to break it down the same way. So when you first start out and you first spawn, you're going to get your item, you're going to get your ability. I always get my right click ability because I get more value out of that. A lot of people might argue that fact, but that's what I do, and this is what I do, and this is my video, my channel. This is what I'm going to talk to you about in my experience. So I get my right click because I myself play around that way better because first of all, it doesn't cost that much mana. I regenerate that mana every 45 seconds, so I can use this ability and not really sacrifice too much every 45 seconds, which is a really good ability to poke with whenever you're using it for a Murdoch. When you're using it for a Murdoch, or when you're using it for a Sparrow, or when you're using it on a Drongo. When you're first starting out, that speed boost, attack speed boost, and shield does so good with their kits and their poking abilities. It's really well. It does work on Revenant as far as the 2 buffs go, but the attack speed is only really good when he reloads, right? It's also a good ability whenever your jungle like Rampage and Grux and Chimera come into the play, and that attack speed actually makes it to where they're able to survive and use their abilities better. So it's a really universal ability that I like to have that starts off those poking battles and those ganks and welcomes those ganks really well. So it's a good universal ability that I love using. All right. So as I progress, I'm going to get my Q. I'm going to have, a lot of more items and abilities. So we're going to say the first pinpoint is the 10-minute marker. The 10-minute marker is when we should be making a dent into their tower. We have been moving into it, and we should have a fang. At the very least, we should have 1 fang, and we should be preparing to get the second fang at this point. And at this point, we should have our ultimate, and we should have 2 points in the Q and 2 points into our right click, which make it to where we can actually use magical damage to amplify our shields. So at this point, I'm with my carry from start to 10 minutes. At this point, you kind of want to, once you have your ultimate, and at this 10-minute mark especially, you kind of want to shift away. Especially when you make a good dent into the tower, you got your Fang setting up the second Fang, so you kind of want at this point help out your jungle and mid to set up Fang. So that way you're able to actually attack it and better. If you're on the defense on your carry side and you need to be focused on that, then by all means use your ultimate to see if your use your ultimate and map awareness to see if your jungle and your mid needs your help to clear and so that we can progress doing Fang for the second time. If you already have Fang for the second time, at this point, you kind of want to sacrifice a little bit of defense and go ahead and get Orb Prime. That means you're way ahead of the game, the defenses are really low, and your people you're playing with are kind of giving you a little bit of the good first quarter. That's always a good vibe to have, and as a Muriel, using those 2 options, being able to help out your mid and jungle to clear out so that way you can get jungle, to get, what I mean clear, is to hopefully get a gank two deaths. You will initially get 2 deaths to start a Fang the second time, because then it really pressures them. You really want to get their jungle and their mid. That is huge. And if you can just trickle, once they trickle in, their carry and their support, their duo lane is the only real big threat. Off lane is too far away. It should be too far away to even remotely come to help by the time that is actually needed. So those two options as Muriel is so significant, because no one else on this roster can technically do that just yet the way that she can. She has her ultimate ability where she can fly to that area, buff that person, and CC all at the same time. It makes it to where it's a huge difference. All right, so we're gonna fast forward a little bit and we're gonna jump into the 25 marker. 25 marker, if everything is going well, we should have 4 Fangs and we should be knee deep inside their base, right? We should have to be getting their inhibitors, and we rightfully so should be technically around level 16 to level 18, depending on how well the map does. And this is all in good scenario factors, right? So during that 10-minute to 20-minute marker, what did we do? So I'm going to break it down just a little bit more for you, okay? And the way I skip it from 10 to 25 is there's a big reason why that is, because that 10-minute to 25-minute marker, what you should be doing is rinsing, repeating what you did in the 10-minute marker, but in a bigger scale. What I mean by that is, from the 10-minute marker, what did we do? We bought items, we farmed a little bit, we got ganks and pokes when we needed to, and we got the objectives. But we also did, at certain points in time, whenever Fang popped up, whenever Fang pops up, you obviously should know because you're warding. So whenever your Fang pops up, that's when a good way to rotate and do what I just said. You have 2 options. You can go to your mid, depending on how well your carry's doing. You can go to your mid and your jungle and help clear, or you just stay into your duo lane and just progress with the objective is at that point, and then just go to Fang whenever needed. Rinse and repeat in doing that for 10 to 25 minutes. And at the same time, what this is a huge gap, and it's a bigger gap between the 1 and 10, because you're actually going to be doing team fights starting at this marker. You're going to actually do team fights. This is the perfect time to do it. And what I mean by team fights is that it slows down all other progression as far as objectives go. So that way you're team fighting for about 5 minutes and then you're going to the objective. So it takes a little bit longer to get those 2 other Fangs that you're going to need. And by the time you get that second Fang, because of the new buffs, you get a primal Fang. So you have an area buff. So you utilize that to get a orb, to get the orb buff prime at that point from the 10 to 25. At the 25 marker, you get the inhibitors, and you kind of want to, before you get the orb prime, people do it before and after. It really doesn't matter, and that's all how well you're progressing. Get the orb prime and finish the job. Hopefully you're able to do that GG's. Now we're going to rewind a bit. We're talking about lane importance and what you do in decisions, right? Well, we're also going to talk about in between what we're doing with our items and our potions. With this build that I have with Muriel, you kind of don't want to use your potions right off the bat at first. It's okay to use it later on, but you kind of want to save that because you're really just a squishy little person, and you kind of need that backup. Like, I still have my potions, and force the poke with your Q and your right click with your carry, and hopefully that 10% damage can add up over time. So we're also, when we first start off, you kind of want to ward whenever your minions get onto the board. When I mean on the board, as I mean they're in your lane and fighting. At that point, you can, when they're distracted, as a support, you can't. This is a perfect opportunity while everyone's distracted to get that first poke or whatever. Especially with Muriel, you can right click yourself, speed boost, go ahead and ward. By that time you should have 2 wards, or at the very least you should have a ward, and it should be popping up in like 20 seconds. So you can pop up a ward right there in the alleyway, so that way you can see someone walking in and out of that mid lane, and also ward the second one as a Fang. So that way you know when someone's about to do Fang, or when Fang's popping up. A good ganking opportunity. Muriel is always good at setting up jungle and carry, but this is very important, and this is where people think that Muriel sucks and they blame her. Muriel is solely based on how well your carry and jungle do in a match. That's what progresses her as a character, because she's amplifying everyone else's abilities. She's amplifying the jungle's attack speed and survivability with a leech ability. She's amplifying the carry's power with attack speed and shield and speed boost. So she's amplified these factors to where these people can succeed even better. So if you're failing and you're losing the match and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Don't blame yourself. Don't obviously blame the other people either, but just take a look at what you could do differently in that game style and that gameplay. It's what I do consistently. Like the last match I just had was a complete booty cheeks match. But because it was booty cheeks, I was able to learn something from it. And I learned that my build is way better than I thought. But I learned a lot of other things too. But I did think that the build saved me in my last match, and it does do good work. So this character Muriel, I'm going to go much more details with the lanes, but we're going to talk about strategy in our next video. If you like this video and you think that this is good for the new players to describe what's going on, if I need a map, just let me know next time. I can put up a map up there and I can describe it. But until next time, guys, we're going to keep doing these videos. I'm going to try to do about 2 videos a week. We're going to try to do a video a day and then 2 major videos a week. And then we're going to do on my days off with the 2 of those as well. We're going to go ahead and fix up the YouTube and tighten it up and make it better for predecessor. So again, thank you guys so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe. Please let me know what I'm doing wrong, what you guys want to see progression wise, and what you guys want to do as far as make things better for this channel, and what I could do to help you guys out. And we should do some community matches. I would really like that. So yeah.